What's up guys, and welcome to this edition of Hikelopedia. I'm here today to talk about my recent 6-day walk through Taiwan's northern mountains. In Chinese it's known as the Beiduan, or the North First section, and it includes 8 of Taiwan's top 100 peaks. That's a set of mountains that are all above 3,000 meters. So today's video is just about running you through the trip and the logistics and what you need to know and what you need to do if you would like to do something similar. So first of all, I'm just going to run through the day-to-day itinerary of the 6 days. The first day involves a 1,000 meter ascent, or 3,000 feet, from the trailhead at Shengguang up to the first hut at Yilan. Now there is actually 2 trailheads on this trail. The other one is known as Shiyuan. You can start from there if you want, but most people tend to start from Shengguang because there's easier parking there and there's more facilities for showers and things like that when you've finished. So after spending the first night in the cabin at Yilan, day 2 involves another climb of roughly 1,000 meters, which also takes in the first 2 of your 8 baiyue, or 100 peaks. The first peak is called Mount Shengguang, and then you carry on up the ridge to the second peak, which is Nanhu North Mountain. Then from the second peak, it's a short descent into the really picturesque Nanhu Cirque Valley and the Nanhu Lodge, where you'll spend your second night. By the last day, the first 2 days are probably the hardest because you are carrying your full pack basically straight up to one of the highest points on the whole trail. Now day 3 will see you bag another 2 peaks and also includes another roughly 1,000 meters of ascent, but don't worry because it's an out and back loop, and so you can get away with just a day pack. You start off with the trek up to Nanhu East Peak, and from there it's an absolutely amazingly beautiful walk along a ridge until you have to descend and go to Shan. That is not fun at all, mainly because you're fighting your way through the Yushan bamboo. I'm not sure who devised the 100 peaks, but I'm sure they just tacked this peak on the end of the day's route just to make it more difficult, because after the first section in the morning, this part is just horrible. Fortunately, the loop back takes you through some absolutely stunning countryside. You drop down into a dry river valley and then you follow the riverbed for a few kilometers before climbing back up into the Nanhu Cirque and then back to the cabin. Apart from Shan, it is an absolutely brilliant day's hiking. Day 3 evening, you stay in the same place, Nanhu cabin. Day 4 is another tough one, as you have to carry all your gear from Nanhu cabin past 3 more peaks and then over a really tough descent down to Zhongyang Creek cabin. Distance wise, it's not too bad and there's not that much ascent, plus you can leave your bags when you're heading off to the 3 separate peaks. It also includes an absolutely stunning climb up a rock face as you head towards Nanhu South Peak. But the worst part of the day is saved till last, because you have a huge 3-hour descent down to Zhongyang cabin, which is pretty tough on the knees, and the last few hundred meters of the descent is super steep. But once you get there, things are great because you can pitch your tent and then you can have a wash or a swim in the river. Warning, it's pretty cold, but it's such a nice refreshing change after the first 3 days without being able to wash or change. Well, I wouldn't say day 5 is an easy day, but again, it's a day pack day, so you don't have to lug all your stuff. The only problem is you're going right up the river valley to the very top to Zhongyangjian Mountain. It's a super long, super steep ascent and starts with at least 2 hours of river tracing. Now, day 5, it's good to get an early start for 2 reasons. The first one is it's an extremely long day. One way, if you're fast, up to Zhongyang is about 5 hours. The second reason is that if you start early, you can make your way pretty much up to the saddle in shade, which is pretty important if it's a sunny day. A lot of people complain about the ascent up to Zhongyang. I'm not sure why, but I didn't think it was that bad. And again, once you get back to the cabin, you can have a wash and relax and cook some dinner before getting another good night's sleep, which is very important before the last day, which is a real slog. Day 6 is a tough one. 1, because you're already quite tired after 5 days on the road, and 2, because it's a super long day. We were on the road for roughly 14 hours, including breaks. The day starts with about 2.5 to 3 hours river tracing before you get a 500 meter super steep, relentless climb over a little hill, and then back down again into another valley where you can also rest by the stream. And then you've got another climb up to the saddle, which is roughly where you ended the first day. And then from there you've got another ascent of about 300 or 400 meters before you start back down to the trailhead. When you get there, you will be super relieved because 1, you're done, and 2, there's hot showers waiting for you literally 5 minutes from where you finish the hike. Now, as you've seen from the video title, I did this trail on my own, but I wouldn't recommend that because it's quite a tough trail, and if you did bump into any problems along the way, then it could be very troublesome. Originally I was going with a friend, but he backed out a day before with an injury, and as I'd already cancelled this trip twice before, I just decided to go for it. I was lucky in that I managed to hook up with a group of 10 people who were actually on the same itinerary as me. Now, I didn't hike with them every day, but on the 2 out and back days to Mabishanshan and Zhongyangjian, I actually walked with them. 1, because I thought it was safer, and 2, because they were good company, and really enjoyed walking with them. And their guide, Mr. Lin, was a really nice guy and very, very helpful, and I'd just like to say a big thank you to him. He treated me with much kindness and courtesy, and he also helped me a couple of times when I inadvertently lost things on the trail. He actually found them and brought them back to me. 1 was including my coat and my head torch, and I would have been absolutely screwed without my head torch. So thank you again, Mr. Lin, and thank you to everybody in the group. You really helped to make my trip a lot more fun, because actually hiking a 6-day trail on your own can get pretty boring and lonely at times. Now, logistics for this hike, it's pretty good because the trailhead lies on one of the main roads through eastern Taiwan, and therefore is on a bus route. So even if you don't have your own transport, you can still get to and back from the trailhead pretty easily. You just have to catch the bus from Yilan or Luodong. I'll put all the information in the description below. The great thing about the Shengguang trailhead is that there are several buildings there where you can grab a shower. So even if you're on public transport, you can just get changed, get freshened up, and then jump on the bus to get back, and you won't be stinking out the place and making all the other passengers feel uncomfortable. On this trail, you're away from civilization for 6 days, so you have to carry everything with you. I had my sleep system, my stove and pots and pans, and then also 6 days of provisions. Breakfast, lunch, dinner and snacks. The good thing about this trail, unlike some in Taiwan, is that you have plentiful options for water at all points. The first 3 nights you've got huts which usually have water, and then the last 2 nights you're alongside the stream, so water is easy to get. You just need to boil it or filter it. and yeah, it's pretty convenient as far as water goes. Another good thing is, even if you're not hardcore like me and want to do everything yourself, there's another option. There is a catering company that actually cooks meals at every place that you stay along this trail. They also provide sleeping bags and tents if you can't get a space in the cabin. The company's name is Kai. It's the first time I'd ever heard of them, actually. I've been to a few huts in Taiwan. I'd never seen them before, but they are the only company on this circuit, and I have to say their food is really, really good. I've mentioned it before, some of the other catering companies, their food's not so great, but Kai is probably, and I'm not joking here, the best food that I have eaten in a mountain hut in Taiwan. I can say this safely because on day 3 I did actually eat Kai's food, because I was worried that I didn't bring enough with me for the whole 6 days, so I coughed up the money and had breakfast and dinner with them on the 3rd day, and I have to say it was really, really good. Of course, doing the trail like this will save you a lot of weight, as you don't have to carry your sleeping system or your stove or your food. You just have to carry your lunches, basically. The only downside is that it can be quite expensive, because the cabins and the places where you eat in Nanhu are quite remote. The fees that they charge are quite expensive. I mean, the first night is $800 and the second and third nights are $1,200 each for breakfast and dinner. Then when you get to Zhongyang Creek cabin, it's even more expensive because it's even more remote. Pity the person who has to carry all this stuff out there. It's $1,600 per night. So if you eat every meal with the catering company, you're looking at around $7,000, which is quite expensive. And then you've got extra fees for the sleeping bags and the tents. But I mean, not everybody wants to lug all their stuff, so it's kind of like a horses for courses. It will suit some people, but not others. As on other multi-day trails in Taiwan, you need to reserve a permit and accommodation before you go. This can be done on the National Park website. I'll drop the link down below. There is English available on the website, and because this is not one of the super popular trails, it is popular but nowhere near as popular as Jade Mountain and Snow Mountain, it's not too difficult to reserve a spot. If you can't get a cabin, you can always book a campsite, because there's camping available at all 3 locations. One major recommendation that I would make after hiking this trail is that you take river tracing shoes or sandals with a back on for your evening wear. That's because on days 5 and 6 there's quite a lot of river tracing to be going on with, and if you are stupid like me and wear your hiking boots, your boots will just get soaked through and you're walking with wet feet the rest of the day. Even Taiwanese style rain boots are not that great on this trail, because if the river is high, the water will just go over the top of them, and pretty much everybody in the group that I was hiking with, even though they had high rain boots on, their feet still got wet. And that's it for the logistics about the hike. If you've got any other questions, then just drop them in the panel below and I'll do my best to answer them. I actually used a couple of new items of equipment on this hike, and the first one was a new stove, the Covia Power Nano Stove. It cost around $30 US, around 1,000 NT dollars, and the reason I got it is because it's quite small. It packs into this box. There it is, and this box also fits nicely into this container that I usually take with me with all my cooking bits in there. I've got the gas stand, my spoon, lighters, dish scrubber, and then it fits in nicely. And I also use this bowl to cold soak things in sometimes as well. So it fit nicely in there, so I thought I'd give it a try. And yeah, the stove performed quite well, although I'm not sure if I prefer it over my knockoff Jetboil or the other stove that I've got, because it's quite tall and sometimes things wobble around. But yeah, it performed fine. Now, the other piece of new equipment I took with me on this trek was slightly more important. It was a new backpack. This is the Exped Thunder 70-litre pack. Now, because I was going for 6 days and I needed to take everything with me, I needed a bigger pack because my other one is only 60 litres, and last time I did a 6-day trek, I had so many things hanging off the back. I looked like a bag lady or a bag man. Yeah, so I got this one a few weeks ago. It wasn't cheap. It was 8,000 NT dollars. And I have to say I'm very happy with it. The extra capacity came in very, very handy, and I was able to stuff everything in: my sleep system, my spare clothes, my rain gear, my cooking equipment, all my food for 6 days, and everything else that I carried with me, all fit in there, and I even had some space to spare too. What I like about this bag is that it is super light. It's only 1.6 kilograms, which is pretty light. The other bags I were looking at were more than a kilogram heavier. I read the reviews and they said this one was pretty sturdy, and so it proved. The other things I like about it is that it's got the super big stretchy pockets on the back, 2 stretchy pockets on the side for water bottles, and then also stretchy hip belt pockets on both sides too. Another great benefit of it is the design of the padding on the back. You've got this part here that rests on your back, and this part on the back of your hips, and so the rest of it is completely open, so you get a nice breeze coming through, and so your back doesn't get all sweaty as it does with some backpacks. Now, I tried 2 or 3 backpacks before I bought this, and this one felt the most comfortable. And even though I'd read somewhere that some people said that the shoulder straps were quite thin, if you look at them, they look quite thin. I was packing about 16, 17 kilograms when fully laden, and I didn't have any problems with the straps digging into my shoulders, and it felt comfortable throughout. Now, it's not completely perfect. There are 2 or 3 things that I don't like about it. The first one is these little Velcro rolls that hold the extra strap length. They're really annoying, and they fall apart sometimes when you're trying to adjust the strap lengths, and they're just fiddly, and yeah, it's a small thing, but it's a bit annoying. Another thing that I didn't appreciate about this bag was the fact, for the price you pay, you don't get a rain cover. They sell it separately, and it's quite expensive. Luckily, my 60-litre pack rain cover was sufficient, so I used that on this trip. Another downside is that it doesn't have taped seams, so in the wet you 100% need to use a rain cover with it. It's also got multiple loops along both sides of the back, so you can hook things on. And you've got your trekking pole holders. And yeah, overall, I'm super happy with this bag. It was expensive, but overall, I think it's worth it. So yeah, that's the Exped Thunder 70-litre pack. I'll definitely be using this one again. Yeah, and that's about it for this roundup. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, then you know what to do. Give me a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you'd like to help support the channel, then there are now 3 ways. You can click thanks down below, head on over to my Buy Me a Coffee page, or we also have channel memberships now, where you can make a small monthly donation, which really helps. And that's it for today, guys. Take it easy, and I hope to see you on the trail sometime soon. Over and out.